Good evening and welcome to a bit of an experiment. Tonight it's about offering a space at a time when everybody's feeling incredibly challenged or incredibly calm. An opportunity for people to come together in this space, and instead of listening to me, where we can talk about things. It's not going to be so easy to talk in this format, and what I'm hoping is that if there's an interest and a demand, we might actually move it to a Zoom meeting. So hi Maria, Clara, Anne-Marie, Pia and Haresh. Because when times are challenging, it's very easy to feel alone. And so the purpose of tonight is hopefully for people to come together and share. Hi Elaine, Glynis, Juliet. I think we've got a few people here. Ola, Anita and Colin. So it's nice group. I asked a few people I knew what questions they had. And the whole purpose of this is not for me to start to teach everybody. For me, what's happening now is an opportunity for each of us to begin to connect more deeply and fully with ourselves. You know, the world is silent at the moment. And because of it, we have an opportunity. So now we've got Bronwyn, Caroline, Sonia, Amanda. I was watching the news earlier tonight and they were talking about pollution levels and how pollution levels have dropped phenomenally, which is definitely a positive. If we take the opportunity, whilst acknowledging that there's a serious situation occurring, then we've got an opportunity to make major changes in our world. Our world, not the world. To look at the kind of world we want to live in, and by living in it by example, to encourage and support other people to do the same. But we all have different challenges and questions. So what kind of questions do we take inside? Hi Tracy, hi Marianne, hi Roisin. What challenges, what questions are we asking? I've got a few that I asked people to send me in advance, and I'm hoping that some of you will add your own and perhaps even add your own comments, because if we can get this to be more of a chat, we can definitely start it in Zoom next week, and people can interact more fully than they can on Facebook. I don't know if there's any other way of doing this, but if there is, I'm sure people will let me know, and I'm very open to finding out what other opportunities we've got. So one of the questions that was asked is, for people that are self-isolating alone, how can I spend all this time alone without feeling lonely? And of course, I'm not alone because I'm with Tony. And those of us that are in relationships, on the one hand, we're probably glad that we've got somebody to share it with us. And at the same time, because we spend so much time together, there's times when we really wished we were alone, because that's human nature. So how can you spend time alone without feeling lonely? Isn't about coronavirus in my book. It's about the fact that if we feel lonely, we've not yet learned how to be a friend to ourselves. How do some of you see it? If you're living alone, do you find it's lonely? Or do you find that the alone time is time for you to stop and breathe, relax, catch up on things, do nothing? How do you navigate that? And I'm hoping somebody's going to answer. Because it would be really good if we could start to put together some suggestions and ideas that can help everyone else. We're pretty fortunate in New Zealand. We haven't been hit yet in the same way as other places have. and we're expecting to be hit. It's not that we won't. However, because we're a smaller population, we're probably not going to be hit quite so severely, although that's a guess. Who knows? So we're all in the same boat. And loneliness isn't the prerogative of people who live alone. You can be very alone and very lonely in the middle of a crowd. Elaine's asking, am I thinking that we could see each other on Zoom? Yes, we could. But it's more that people could talk. I'm not quite sure what... I can't see what Juliet means when she says the latter, definitely. Perhaps you can fill me in, Juliet. Hi, Sarupa. Amanda says she likes time alone, and Amanda, for the most part, Amanda lives alone. She has a daughter, but her daughter's not always there. Someone else says, I like my solitude at times as an opportunity to explore within. I don't know if that's Haresh or Pia. I think it's Haresh. Amanda's saying there are lots of things she'd like to do, and this is a great opportunity to do some of those things. And that's fine if we sit in a space where we feel that it's an opportunity. But there's a lot of people who aren't sitting in a space of opportunity. They're sitting in a space of fear. And what they hear and what they see on the TV ties them into that fear. So if you're fearful and you can't go out, it doesn't mean you can't reach out. Juliet says having a structure to her day helps. And I think too that a lot of people who live alone either become introverted or they become extroverted. And if you're extroverted, if you can't go and meet someone for coffee, you're going to call them. But if you're introverted, what do? I like Orla's. She likes to do a bit of nothing and a bit of something. And a bit of chatting with others online. It's a question of personal preference, isn't it? Bronwyn said, you see, this is where I struggle, and this is another reason why I want to get it off Facebook, is because when it's on the phone, I don't get the full message. But she says she's thinking that she loves spending time alone, but loneliness has been something that she has. And I don't know what the rest of it is. Here we go again. Glennie says she feels alone time allows us to nourish ourselves. And Clara says she lives alone and enjoys being by her own, doesn't feel lonely. I guess the answer is if we're interested in our life, if we're interested in what we're doing, we don't have time to feel lonely because we're engaged. And it comes back to, if we feel lonely, are we really friends with ourselves? If we're not, then we're going to struggle. Bronwyn says it's mostly when she hasn't been understood that she's felt lonely. And that can happen. If we feel people around us don't understand who we are or what we're doing, or that they misunderstand us. It's not just that they don't understand, but we feel misunderstood. It can feel very isolating and lonely. That doesn't matter whether there's a virus or not. You're going to feel that anyway. It's an opportunity to look at how clear you are in your communication. But in the moment, we don't look at it that way. In the moment, we feel hurt and we feel upset. Sarupa says she thinks it's nice as she's enjoyed her own company. But it can get a bit... Anita likes alone time, but can miss sharing. So I guess what it says is, can we find other ways to be together? Just because we can't go out and about, does that mean we can't spend time with people we care about? You know, we're in an unprecedented opportunity at the moment, because if this had happened 60 years ago, we would definitely have been alone. But we've got the internet. We've got, FaceTime and Facebook, Zoom, Snap. Oh, we've got all sorts of stuff. it comes down to, I suppose, how we want to feel. Whether we feel, as some people obviously do, feel that they're being punished because they have to isolate. Or whether we take it as an opportunity to do all those things that we said we'd do when we had time. For most of us now, we've got the time and we've got the space. It's up to us what we do with it. Most of us are philosophical looking at this. Most of us have got a spiritual discipline. We meditate, we're philosophical. We're introspective in working on ourselves. But there's a lot of people out there that aren't. So I'm going to turn this question outward a little bit. Instead of asking, how can I spend this time alone without feeling lonely? Are there people around you? Are you aware of people around you that might be alone, that might be feeling lonely? And what could you do at this point of time to help them? There's a heck of a lot of stuff on social media at the moment. People rewriting songs and entertaining us, helping us to make light of the circumstance without in any way diminishing its seriousness. And that's great. Sometimes, however, people just need someone to listen and to hear them. My glasses aren't that good, I'm sorry. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Isioma, if you're alone, you think and take decision about yourself. Yeah, you do. It's about taking responsibility. This is the situation we're in. I can either be miserable or I can make the most out of it. Colin says for himself, he's with his wife and 2 young kids. And his wife and he wished they could get alone time, I can imagine. It's not always easy, especially when you've got children. And children don't always understand. They're joy, and they can also be exhausting. It's important to keep a sense of humour. Bronwyn said one of the first things she did was to volunteer. However, we can't in this situation because we've got to keep our distance. So we can't volunteer to look after people or to look after dogs. We can volunteer, however, and it's a lot of things that's happening here. I think it's happening everywhere. People are creating phone trees where you can phone up and talk to a perfect stranger just to check in and see how they are for a couple of minutes. Not only will it brighten their day, but it'll brighten your own. Anita said she's talking to the plants and they haven't answered back yet, which is pretty good, Anita. At least you're still in control of your plants. That's great. Yes, Haresh, loneliness can be difficult when there's no one to connect with, and there are a lot of people who don't have family. Elaine's not sure she would know she was lonely. She's lucky enough to be able to reach out, to have contact, and there it is. So perhaps the answer is for us to take some time, whilst we've got the time, not just to catch up on things that we want to do for ourselves, but to look around us. And is there anyone within your neighbourhood, in your street, that you know lives alone? Is it possible, even if you can't phone them, we're all allowed to go out for a walk, is it possible to write a little note and pop it in the mailbox? Or talk to somebody on social media that you haven't talked to for a while? There's lots of possibilities, aren't there? Sarupa added about allowing that letting go of physically helping others when isolating. Well, if you're not isolating in a bubble with other people, you can't physically help them, which is great. I think that's a very good point, Bronwyn. This is a chance to use social media to share rather than compare ourselves to one another. It's an opportunity to express kindness. The teddy bear experiment is a great one. Over here in New Zealand, it's going down well. I believe they've got it in Australia. I'm not certain how far this one's spread. But people are putting teddy bears in their windows so that when the parents take the kids for a walk, the kids go on a teddy bear hunt, just in their own neighbourhood, to see how many teddy bears they can see. Over here, we've got teddy bears, we've got giraffes, we've got elephants. Any kind of soft, cuddly toy, people are putting in their window for the children, and it entertains them and it makes it a bit of a game. What about for other people? What about for the adults? What kind of game or thought or suggestion could you come up with that they would feel they weren't alone? Juliet reached out to her neighbours with a note in their letterboxes. And Colin says that it's like being in love, but I hate the fact that I cannot see the whole of this darn message. However, my apologies, Colin. I'll see it when we stop and then I'll reply. I think it's about kindness. I mean, we've talked about it in other calls. It's been on the news about being kind to neighbours, about not fighting over stocks that apparently are rapidly being depleted. No, they're not. They're just the shelves that aren't being stocked as quickly as we're buying, and that's true. Take time to stop and look at how could your life be more enriched by how you enrich the lives of others. I guess that's my question. How could my life be more enriched by how I enrich the lives of others? And sometimes it's not about talking, and sometimes it's not about listening. Sometimes it's just about a simple little sign or a note that says, I'm here. No advice, no suggestions. Yeah, Zoom parties are good, but not everybody wants to do Zoom parties. And Clara, yeah, it's great. If you know there's always someone you can turn to, then you're never going to feel lonely. Orla says she's had more 2-metre chats with her neighbours recently than ever before. And it's true, so have we, as we've been wandering around, the neighbours going up and down the street. They've stopped at a distance and we've had a good chat. And we've talked to neighbours, particularly Tony has talked to neighbours. We've been here 18 months and one of the neighbours we'd never met until this week. Because they're out and about at times when we're in, and we're out and about at times when they're in. So, you know, you just never know what you're going to discover. So Caroline loves her own company, but she also likes to spend time with people. I think Elaine's suggesting that older people could do the phone trees so that others know that they're alone and would welcome a wave or a chat. I don't know that I agree with that, Elaine. I think it's getting in the habit of doing it anyway, to everybody. Anne-Marie says they have a local community WhatsApp group and it's amazing what people are offering. This is what I like. It's the fact that people are getting creative in how to connect to each other. I don't personally feel this is going to be over in a month or 2 months. How does everybody else feel? Do you feel this is going to be over quickly, or do you feel that it's going to take some time? I think we've got a little way to go yet, and we're only at the beginning. Marianne says ringing older people to check in with them is something I'm doing. What about checking in on anybody that's alone? And I'll be honest, the other side of the coin is this. Tony and I are in the 70 plus age group. So apparently we're vulnerable because of our age, even though both of us are very healthy. And if people kept ringing me to see how I was, I wouldn't get anything done. So there's a balance to be found, isn't there, in how we go about doing things. Anne-Marie thinks it's going to be long term. Anita thinks it'll be some time. So does Pia. Orla says at least 6 weeks, if not more. I think it's going to be 3 months before we'll be able to step back and take another look at things. I'm not a medic. I could be totally wrong, and I hope I am. But that's my feeling. Colin suggested planting flowers and such appropriate for the property. Beautify with nature. We did that. And we got our winter veg in, so I'm very happy about that, which makes us a bit more self-sufficient. Not everybody can do that. But yeah, it's about putting your fingers in the earth if you can, because that grounds and it nourishes. So does everybody feel this is a worthwhile exercise to do? What are your feelings about doing something like this each week, but perhaps on Zoom instead of Facebook? Do you think it's a positive? Do you think it's just a little chat? I've still got 5 or 6 more questions, but we don't have time tonight. But do you feel that this is something that it would be good to continue with and perhaps try to build up on? Thruba says she thinks it's 2020 and it's just begun. Oh, go away. I'm seeing a lot of things about older people. It's a form of separation, and you will separate them. You'll make them self-conscious. And some of the younger people that get ignored are going to feel that baby boomers, such as Tony and I, are getting all the attention, and what about them? And so it puts it out of balance. It's about keeping balance with this. And Haresh is correct. It's also important not to approach people from sympathy, but from a sense of friendship and community. Well, certainly from a sense of community, because not everybody wants to be instant friends. That's something you can build. Colin's suggesting have a beehive. So it seems that you all seem to think that this could be something we could do every Monday. If you're interested, then post on the Facebook page that you want to be notified. And what we'll do is we will, if it looks like there's going to be enough interest, then what we'll do is we'll post a Zoom link. And we'll do this by Zoom next time, which means I'll do it on my computer and I'll be able to see any chats that come through a lot more easily than I'm seeing this. But think about, how we can spend some of our time helping people that are alone, that are lonely. And not everybody is going to want people checking up on them. They're used to being on their own. There was a gentleman and a lady on the news tonight, both 112, both very independent, didn't really see themselves as old either, which I think is fantastic. So I think we look at what we can do. What's the benefit of COVID-19? What can we come together and create as a result? I don't think it's going to be over in 3 weeks. I think it's only just beginning. And John talked about this, and he talked about the fact that it would get worse before it gets better, and it will. This is a wake-up call. This is asking us to stop and take stock and look at how we live. Do we live harmlessly? Or do we live through an attitude of entitlement? Okay, so this is going to be good if we do this regularly. I'm quite happy to do this every Monday, but I'm also quite happy if people want to participate, if they want to actually talk, for other people to come up with some suggestions. Because I think this could be a safe space for people to come to if they want to vent for about 2 minutes before they start to be constructive. But it's a place where people don't have to feel alone either. Because if they come here, they're not going to be lonely and they're not going to be alone. We'll all be here. Be great for us all to be here for each other and to see what comes out of it. One of the things that they've talked about is the potential for domestic violence to increase. And that's another reason why I think if we can create places and spaces for people, non-physical, where they don't feel alone. Because at the moment we're in lockdown, so even if somebody rang me and said, I really need help, we couldn't go and get them. We could send the police to get them, but we couldn't go and get them. And sometimes the pressure, you know, people have lost a job or they're worried about the future, they don't know what's happening, can cause a lot of problems. So the more we can be anchored, the more we can be calm and share who we are, I think the better it will be. And one of the things I'd like to say is this. Don't tell people, oh, don't worry, it's okay. You want to inspire people, but if somebody's telling you how terrible they feel and you say, don't worry, they'll feel dismissed. You could say to them, yeah, I can understand how you feel that way. However, how about we do this, or what could you do about it? How could you change it? Okay. Okay, so it looks like people are interested. Mary Ann's talking about combined meals, and I think what she means by that is that people cook meals and they sit down to eat and they connect on the internet so that they can see each other as they're eating and they can talk on FaceTime or whatever. And that's a good idea. Not everybody is internet savvy, but for those that are, it's a great thing to suggest. So there's a lot of things, really, a lot of tools that are available. And perhaps one thing that we could do as a group is if you post on here a tool you can think of, we could put a document together that we post onto our Facebook John the Beloved page that offers people some thoughts and ideas from the group of people here that they might want to look at that might help them to feel less lonely. I think that might be a great idea, and I think it would be another way for all of us to be sending that energy out into the world. So, yeah, you're right, Ola, the potential for change is enormous if we take it, if we don't allow ourselves to be paralysed because of it. And if we don't placate ourselves by looking at the opportunity without dealing with the reality of the situation. Tony and I are fortunate. If this had happened 5 years ago, we would have been living in an apartment and we would have both gone stir crazy. Where we are now, we work from home, we have done for years. We stopped having raging parties a long time ago. So our life hasn't changed a lot. It would be nice to go down to town for a cup of coffee or go out for a meal. But there's no major change for us, and I know there is for a lot of other people. So if we can come up with some suggestions, we can put them on a document and offer them on the Facebook page, I think that could be something constructive. And it could also help people to think. Anne-Marie suggested it'd be a good place to have a short meditation for all. However, on Thursdays, on Insight Teachings Facebook, Tony has started a healing circle. So he is doing a meditation every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock as a Facebook Live on Insight Teachings Facebook page for those of you that are interested. And we've got some other things that are coming out of the group that aren't quite ready yet, and when they are, we'll let you know. But you're definitely right, Bronwyn. There seems to be the opportunity for a heart opening within the community. And it is opening within the community. Yes, some people are getting cranky. That's because they're afraid, and that's okay. Once they get past the fear, things will change. But if enough of us are open-hearted, we can hold the energy. Now, I don't want, Anne-Marie suggested that we could pick a subject and put our intent on helping eliminate issues like domestic violence. I don't personally want this to be about that. Because that's something that people will choose to do, to volunteer to do individually, and that's brilliant. But that's not the purpose of this group. The purpose of this group is about getting together, sharing ideas, and out of it, some people will go into other areas and be very effective. It's not what we created this one for. Okay. I think for a first go, we've all done really well. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to sign off now. I've still got a few questions left for next week, unless everybody else has come up with some other things. But thank you so much for joining me tonight and for participating. Let me know if you're interested, as I say, and we will post a link to do a Zoom meeting next Monday at 9 o'clock. And if you want to partake in a meditation, Tony does brilliant meditations, and he will be available Thursday evening. So we will see you then. Take care, be well, and keep your sense of humour. Bye for now.